Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us again today for our Life is Simple series. This is our spring 2022 Lunch and Learn series, and Linda Peterson has been so kind to host this series for me. Linda is a life purpose, health, and wellness coach here at Statera, and you guys talked and we listened. You wanted to have more sessions about personal development and empowerment. And so this series on Life Simplified, our focus here at Statera is really nourishing and healing our mind, body, and spirit. And so rarely do we meet somebody who's not experiencing a lot of stress in their lives. And a lot of times they have difficulty finding time in their lives then to learn new ways to help manage that stress. And stress has so many negative impacts on our health and wellness, right? And we all experience that. It's not that, we can eliminate all stress from our lives, but the stress that we have does have a definite impact on our overall health and wellness. And so through this series, we've really emphasized different topics. If you missed weeks 1 and 2, those are now available on our website on demand. And you can take a look at those, watch them at your convenience. But we've focused on different topics on what might be taking up space in your life and how you can help to make room to focus on what matters to you most. And so today we're going to be talking about removing the clutter from your physical space, which I'm super excited to talk about. And because I know this is something I struggle with a little bit. We all struggle to different degrees, right? But like we talked about last time, remember to be mindful and present with us today. We're only going to take about 30 to 40 minutes of your time. And so if you can take just a second or two here to really shut everything else off, put everything else away, and really be able to just be present and interactive with this webinar, I think you will be able to get the most benefit from it. We also have a worksheet that you can download to follow along and take notes. That's available on our website as well under More and Resources. You can download that. So if you don't have the worksheet, not a big deal. Just grab pen and paper and you can take your own notes. So let's get started. There we go.
There it is.
That's the button I'm going to have to push today. It seems like it's different every week.
time.
All right. So like I said, the first two, if you've missed those, the first one was, is it time to simplify your life? So that was a self-evaluation. Just recognizing those places in your life, those things in your life that maybe you could work on simplifying. March 10th that we had last time was simplify your thinking. And now today, like I said, is simplify your space. The next 2 weeks, you're welcome to join us, simplify your schedule and simplify your self-care. And just a reminder, if you do miss those, it's okay. You don't have to register in advance. And if you miss them, you can always catch them on demand on our website. Okay. So I love this slide that you put together. Clutter is any excess in life or emotional baggage we haul around that weighs us down, distracts from our purpose, or robs us of joy and mind, body, spirit health. And that really, truly is what we're talking about in this series, because I often think of clutter as just being the mess on the kitchen counter or something like that. But really, there are so many other things that can cause clutter in our lives. And so looking at this picture, I know we talked about this a little bit before and it still just stresses me out. Maybe this is normal for you and that's okay. But if this is kind of what your space looks like, think about how you feel when you're in that space. And if your space doesn't look like this, just imagine for a moment what you would feel like in this space. How do you feel? What emotions do you feel? What comes up for you? I know, Linda, you said earlier you kind of felt it. Was it in your stomach? Oh, it was in your chest, like a heaviness in your chest. I actually kind of feel it in my throat. It almost feels like it's kind of strangling me or something. Like I feel like I can't breathe. I think is the best way I can describe it. So just kind of think about what emotions come up for you, what thoughts come up for you. And what does your body feel like when you're imagining yourself in this space? And now, how about these spaces? You can
I
breathe
can
again,
breathe
right?
again.
I can breathe again. And Linda's favorite color is purple. So I see that we have a lovely purple bedroom.
Yes.
Is this your bedroom?
I wish that was my bedroom.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, it is gorgeous,
It
right?
is.
And the bed
Calm.
is made. I know we'll talk about this a
Yeah.
little bit later, but the bed is made. There's just certain things about these photos that minimize the physical clutter, the clutter that you actually see, but now think more about how you feel when you imagine yourself in these spaces as you look at these photos. What feelings or emotions come up for you? What do you feel in your body? And how is that different from the slide we were just looking at? So I know I feel very different for sure.
Yes, me too.
All right.
All
So Linda, I'll let
right.
you take over.
Okay. As I was putting this together a week ago or so, I really got inspired. This is kind of one of my favorite topics, and I especially like getting rid of physical clutter because it's more tangible.
Yeah.
We can talk about uncluttering your mind, but that's a little different concept. This, you can really feel it when you take a bag of something to Goodwill or St. Vinny's or somewhere like that. You can really feel the lightness of that when you get rid of it. And I know over this last week, I took, I don't know how many boxes out and bags, and I don't know, like 15 pairs of shoes that were gathering dust in my closet that I'll never wear again. So it just felt really good, and it inspired me. I hope it inspires you a little bit too. And I wanted to put in a plug for the Discovery Shop. If you haven't ever gone there, they take kind of lightly used, gently used items, household items and clothing, and all of the money that that they receive goes to cancer research. So if you haven't done that before, that's a really nice place to take your things.
Which is something that's definitely near and dear to your
It
heart.
is.
And,
it is.
you know, as you are cleaning up your clutter, we were talking about this a little bit. There are so many options for ways to donate those items that you no longer want. So do your research in your community, wherever you live, even asking friends and family, those kinds of things about the opportunities that are out there that you can take advantage of. I know we've donated even through our church. They have known individuals who could use some of the items that we no longer wanted, and they were able to donate those on our behalf to those people. So,
and I brought some things here that I thought someone might use, and they've gone to new homes. So I'm really happy about that.
Rehoming.
Okay, so think about, as we go through this, think about where does your clutter live? Maybe it's the kitchen, maybe it's the bedroom, maybe it's the basement. You don't want to look at my storage area in the basement, but it's getting better. And then I love this quote too. Your home is a living space, not a storage place. And so let's see what we can do to help make it more of a living space for you.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. All right, next. I wanted to talk a little bit about why we have so much clutter in our lives. And there are some legitimate reasons that we have all of this stuff. The first one is consumer impulse shopping and shopping therapy. I used to be much more guilty of the shopping therapy. If I felt low or just needed a pick me up, I'd go to Hobby Lobby and buy something for the season, you know. So
and it's not even like you mindfully choose to do that.
No, but I would find my car going to Hobby Lobby. Yeah. And we do some
pretty common.
We do impulse shopping. Let's face it, most of us do. And then the next one is emotional and sentimental memories. I was cleaning out China Hutch or whatever you call it, and it has all kinds of glassware from my mom, from my grandmother's, and I actually was able to let some of that go, but I mean, it is sentimental. I've got some little tiny goblets that my grandparents used at their wedding, although neither one drank. So I don't know who got them little goblets, wine goblets, but
they had sparkling grape juice.
There you go. So yeah, those are sentimental things that I feel attached to, even though I never use them. I just dust them once in a
Mhm.
while.
And I
So
know we have so many things, or had so many things, I should say, from great grandparents
Yep.
and even parents. And a year or two ago, we did kind of go through a major reorganization in our home and went through every closet and every room and under every bed and everything.
that's a scary place too.
It
Under the
totally
bed.
was. And it's, it is difficult, especially when you have some of those larger items that are beautiful. We had a beautiful old Victrola that was gorgeous. It actually still worked and everything.
Wow.
But every time I walked by it, it was kind of that guilt. And I think we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but that guilt of, yes, it's beautiful, but I really don't want it or need it. And it's taking up this space that I really don't want to take up. And so I've slowly given some of those things away in different ways, but I do still have some of the glassware and tea sets and that kind of thing. So
we all have those things. And then the next one is we have sometimes a fear of future need. And if you are my age or anywhere near, in your 60s, 70s, we had parents or grandparents that lived through the Great Depression. And there's a mentality that came with that you don't know when things are going to go south and you're going to need that. I've talked to people who have gone through their parents' home after they've passed and found butter dishes. Boxes and boxes of old, margarine containers, anything that could be reused or repurposed for something. There's something good about that too, repurposing.
Absolutely.
But if you're doing that out of fear, then it can get a little out of control.
And is there something called the scarcity mindset too? I mean, for even individuals who didn't, let's say, live through that Depression era, even of my generation, I think some people do have that scarcity mindset, that worry. So I don't know how to explain that any better, but maybe we don't want to get into that much today. We can get into that more another time. But just that fear that, if you give that away, you're not going to have enough.
Right.
Somehow.
That we just have to,
to have things to
make us happy, or just in case.
Yeah.
And then that's the guilt and obligation you talked about. When someone gives you a prized possession, before they pass, boy, how could I dare put that on a garage sale or give it away? Or I know my husband, when his last parent passed away, he and his brother got a dumpster. They let any family member come in the house, take whatever you want, and anything that was left went in a dumpster. And I just, the thought of that is just, I told him he doesn't dare do that if I go before him. Don't you dare throw my things in a dumpster, my stuff. And the next one is, sometimes we have a hope of future change. So I was telling Nicole, I used to have at least three different sizes of clothes in my closet, for my heavy weight, my regular weight, and, if ever in another lifetime I get to my weight that I want to be, I would have all of those clothes. And I had clothes that I had never worn, hoping to lose enough weight to get into them, which was just ridiculous.
But that's really quite common.
It is quite common. Yes. Things with tags on that I know I'm going on a diet, and my gosh, I'm going to get in that outfit.
And we think that's going to be the motivation to help get us
right. Just hold it up and look at it. It never worked for me, but for some people,
doesn't usually.
Or maybe a larger home. I know my dream home was always a log cabin, and so anything that would have looked good in a log cabin, I held on to. I've got quilts from my grandmother's great grandmother, and I thought, perfect over a railing in a log cabin. I don't have a log cabin, and I'm probably not going to have one. So I've gradually let some of those things go as well.
Yeah.
And then just stuff can become an extension of us. It can mean love and security. Sometimes our stuff is a status symbol. So we do get attached to it. It represents who we are and our style, our sense of style.
Sometimes it becomes part of our identity, I think is another way of saying it. Yeah.
Right. I have dragonflies all over my house because I love them, and everyone knows that. And so my house is full of dragonflies, and I'm not ready to let go of them yet.
Absolutely.
Another thing was like Boyd's Bears, if you remember.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you remember
I
Boyd's.
remember Boyd's Bears.
Yeah.
I did Precious Moments.
Okay. Those little figurines,
Mhm.
they're in a tote in their boxes,
They're
and
so cute.
they may have value, but I don't need them any longer. And so I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out how and where to let those go.
And I have the willow tree, and I used
Oh,
to
yeah.
have them all in one big display, and now they're kind of dispersed throughout my house, and a few of them are put away. And
Mhm.
I've kind of made that rule for myself that I'm
Mhm.
not buying any more
No
willow
more willow
tree.
trees.
No more willow tree.
I'll take that off your birthday list.
There you go.
Okay. Okay. And then the next one is habit, and that could be hobbies too.
Mhm.
Nicole was talking about her crafting hobby, and some of us,
Quilting, scrapbooking,
Yeah.
jewelry making. You accumulate a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And you may not even do it anymore or plan to do it, but you think, oh, if I ever start that again, I'm going to need that. And
Right.
I've got a closet that's just full of things I'll never use again, but I
Yeah.
haven't let them go
But
yet.
just in case.
Yeah. And I love this. I think this is really telling that research done at Yale said 2 areas of our brain are stimulated the same as physical pain
Mhm.
when we try to give up something we're emotionally connected to. So it's no
That is
wonder.
interesting. No wonder it's so hard.
Yeah, because we feel that same kind of pain. And I know I felt that and the uncertainty, do I get rid of it? Do I keep it? I mean, there's always that question. And
Yeah.
so if you're feeling that kind of physical pain, there's a reason for it. And you need to give yourself some space and grace to know that this is hard to do.
Yeah. And even I think the hardest as we were going through our home a year or two ago was letting go of those things I had accumulated and kept from our kids as they were growing up.
Yeah.
Everything from my son's first baseball mitts to my daughter's first pair of tap shoes to, just all of these things that bring back such amazing memories, but
did you keep their artwork?
Really need to keep them. I limited myself. Yes, I've kept some of it, but I've not kept all of it the way I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Forgive me for the little arrows. I could not get those to come in at the right thing. So
technology
at the right time. So we want to talk just briefly about how clutter impacts us, mind, body, and spirit. For those of us who it does impact, physically, like those pictures we looked at, it can cause a lot of problems. And studies from Princeton and Cornell, and probably many, many other places have told us that the brain likes order. So it likes things sequential, and it doesn't necessarily like all of the things that we talked about. We can't multitask.
I was just going to say that's the unitasking versus the multitasking.
It likes one thing at a time. And so some of the things that it causes are loss of focus and creativity. It drains our mental energy. It lowers our performance, and it impairs our decision making. And the other thing is that it overloads our senses. Now, I do need to say that for some people, they have a different tolerance level. We're all very different. So be thinking about, where is your tolerance level for clutter? And what about your family members, your spouse, your significant other, your kids? How does the tolerance level for clutter differ in your family? We know people who can have an office with stacks of things, right? And you go in and you ask for a certain little piece of paper, and they know exactly where it is.
Yeah,
they
do.
They manage their clutter. They live with that. They may be able to live with it or function in it very well in the office, but at home they don't like it as well.
I still have my stacks at home too.
Okay. So. And maybe there's certain rooms that you need less clutter.
Yeah,
but it really
can. It is interesting though, although I do struggle with that. I do struggle with having all of my stacks, because if I don't see it, it's out of mind, out of sight, out of mind, right?
Right.
But if I am getting ready to work on a new project, whether it's at work or at home for a hobby or anything like that, I do have to clear the whole space and reset everything, and then I can start on my project.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And I'm that way with books. I've got, I think 5 books started. I had everything stacked up to stay away from the dog. Everything stacked up on this one table and it was driving me crazy.
Yeah.
So I got out a couple of my cute bookends and just organized that one table with the things I really needed on it. And just that little bit just really took the psychological weight off my mind.
Well, and I have so many books that maybe I've started and haven't finished. And so the stack gets bigger and bigger as I start them. I have to get rid of all the books except for the one that I really want to be reading, the one or two.
Yeah.
And that helps me too, because otherwise I look at the stack and I don't even pick one up.
Your dozen
But if
books
there's just
there.
if there's just one or two, then I'm more likely to go and pick the book up and actually read and finish it.
Yeah.
So,
and in thinking about that pain too, sometimes when we let go of something that has that emotional attachment to grandparents, parents, or whatever, we feel like if we give it away, we're going to lose the memory and not just the item. And so if you're feeling that way, I've got to hang on to this because I'm throwing away that memory. You're not. And take a picture of it and then allow someone else to use it and get some fun from it. And then the next thing is we need to remember that clutter for most of us really increases our stress and causes this psychological weight. And we know that increasing our stress increases our cortisol levels. And so by living in a lot of clutter, it increases our avoidance strategies, such as eating junk food, oversleeping, binge watching TV, anything to avoid dealing with the mess. And it can increase anxiety and depression. And we know from, you can do the next one, we know that anything that increases our stress is a danger to us, mind, body, and spirit. And so these are just some of the things physically that we can start experiencing if we're not getting rid or finding ways to ease up that stress.
And I love that diagram because we talk so much about our mind, body, spirit, health, and wellness, but we also talk so much about really looking for the root underlying cause of disease and dysfunction, really getting to the root of what's going on rather than just treating symptoms. And so you can see right here how stress can be a primary factor in even cancer, depression, eczema, all of those things. And a lot of times we go to the doctor, we get the prescription, right, to treat those symptoms, but we have to change our mindset and remember that those are symptoms a lot of times. And what we really want to do is look for what is that underlying cause.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I love too about this series that you're doing, Linda, because this Life Simplified, all 5 of these sessions are really focused on how can we minimize that stress in our lives is really what it comes down to. So
live lighter.
Yeah. And heal. Lots of healing through all of this. Takes work. It's not easy, but
we've said that each week.
We've said that every week.
It isn't easy, but it's well worth beginning.
And it will never be perfect either, right? You and I have tried to be very careful to also share our personal struggles and experiences too, because even though this is what we teach, this is what we do, that doesn't mean that we're also perfect at it. It's always a work in progress.
Yes.
So
aren't we all? Yes,
we are.
So next, just some things I'd like you to consider about physical clutter. I just love the very first one. And it is, if you don't need it, use it or love it, it is not serving its purpose or usefulness in the world. And the philosophy that everything has a purpose and use. And so if you're looking at things you already have, or if you're looking at making purchases, Hobby Lobby.
My downfall.
Does anyone else have that problem? I have a horrible problem with
an addiction.
I love it there. They have couches. I could just sit there and absorb. Yes. So think about it. If you don't need it, use it or love it. it's not serving its purpose. And someone else may really need it, use it, or love it. And
Yeah.
so why not allow them and whatever it is to serve its purpose in the world?
And for me, that actually eases, now that I better understand that emotional
Mhm.
connection when
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
getting rid of things, now that I understand that is a physiological thing,
Yeah.
it makes more sense to me as to why when I actually give an item to somebody that I know loves it or is going to use it, needs it,
Right.
it makes a huge difference in how easy it is for me to
Yeah.
give away and what I feel after I give it away.
Yes.
It's less
Yeah.
pain and it's more kind of joy and fulfillment and lightness.
Right. So
So
yeah, if you know that the person that's getting it really wants it, it
Yeah.
makes all the
it
difference.
makes a huge
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. And please remember that we get to choose what we want to have in our environment. That may not always be true with kids and,
Yeah.
spouses and insignificant others, but overall we get to choose. In almost everything we have a choice. So let's choose our space that makes us feel our best. And then I thought this was interesting. According to a UCLA study, the amount of stress women experience at home is directly proportional to the amount of stuff they and their family have accumulated. And in the study that they did, this was not true for men.
That's really interesting.
Men did not feel stress about clutter at home. And so that could answer a lot of questions, but we were talking beforehand, and I do think a lot of the expectation is placed on the female in the home to make the home livable,
Orderly, tidy.
presentable. I mean, how many times have you said or heard, well, she's not a very good homemaker,
Yeah.
Or housekeeper or whatever. And
I think we do still kind of live under that. Stigma is not
Yeah.
the right word, but I know what you're
Right.
trying to say.
Yeah.
And even
Yeah.
though this isn't, the 40s anymore, right? I think we do
There's
still
some.
live with a lot of that
expectation or
expectation.
yeah. guilt placed on us if we're not keeping a house looking in a certain way.
Yep.
And please remember, buying more storage bins is just getting the clutter out of sight.
But sometimes it's so much fun to buy those new
I
storage
know in
containers and
January,
organize.
they're always sitting out there in January. It's like, oh, that's what I need. Yeah. So yeah, think before you save it. And remember that it's up to us to create a space that makes us feel peaceful and at ease. And as that early slide said, let's create a living space and remember that it's not a storage, our home is not a storage space. And so we have a lot of control, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We have choices and we have control in our environment to some extent.
Which is funny because a lot of times we talk about control as an illusion and we don't have much control, but this is an area where we do have much more control and much more choice.
And this is why I like this topic so much. It's because it does feel like you can accomplish things and it's very tangible when you can take a box of something and move it out of the house.
And today we're really primarily talking about your home space, but this can actually work for your workspace as well. Any space that you're spending time in, you can absolutely apply all of these same concepts to.
Yep.
So, all right, are you ready for the next one?
Yeah. I like this. I think you can see the whole thing. It says, I feel lighter every time I let things go. And I think that's so true. So now we're going to talk about physical clutter and where to begin, because it can be so overwhelming if you haven't done this, if you've collected. One of my problems is I used to decorate every room in my house for every holiday.
Oh, wow.
And so I have totes full of seasonal decor. Wow. And now I probably do 2 rooms for some, maybe 3 times a year instead of every holiday.
Yeah.
So I've got all of this stuff, but it's so hard to get rid of greenery and
Because you spent a lot of time
and money.
choosing what you like, a lot of money,
Mhm.
accumulating it, organizing it, and then the memories that you have of decorating and what your home looked like when it was decorated. And yeah.
But this whole series is about finding simplicity in our life and letting go of things that no longer serve us. So where to begin? I'm going to give you a few suggestions, and then Nicole will have these on a worksheet as well if you want to, but you can also write them down.
Yep.
Okay. Take one room at a time and don't get distracted. Maybe you want to set a timer for 30 minutes or whatever time you have, maybe 10 minutes.
That helps me a lot to set the timer.
Yep. And know that you don't have to spend the whole day at it, or take one room at a time. Don't get distracted and think small steps. Do something every week, okay, or possibly even every day, even if it's cleaning out a junk drawer. And I have a lot of those. Something like while you're brushing your teeth and getting ready in the morning, open your toothpaste drawer or wherever you keep your toothpaste or combs or whatever. And in 5 minutes, you can take everything out, wipe out the drawer, throw a few things away and reorganize it. It really does not take that long if you're thinking a drawer at a time, or one closet at a time, or one tote at a time, whatever that might be. But in almost everything we talk about small steps done consistently over time is what will get you to your end goal. So think small, but think consistent. And one thing that I thought was a really good idea, and I actually tried, was to put some things, if you haven't used it or needed it in over a year, let it go. And one of the suggestions was to put some things, I did clothes that I wasn't wearing. I didn't either. They're rarely too big, but they were probably too small. And I thought, well, I don't want to get rid of them yet. So I put them in a box, and you put today's date, and then you put the date a year from now, and you put it somewhere you'll remember. And then in a year, you look at it, and if you haven't missed it in a year, you don't need it, and you're not going to probably use it. So I forgot where I put mine. So I have one in my storage space with a date on it, and someday I'm going to find that and get rid of it.
Okay, I have a story that'll make you feel a little bit better.
Okay, good.
My husband and I, when we moved from Minnesota to Dubuque, we had movers help us, and every box had a green sticker on it. And then when we moved, we lived in that house for about 8 or 9 years. And then when we moved from that house out to Piasta, where we live now, we've lived in this house now for 12 years. I was surprised when we made that last move. There were still boxes with green stickers on them that we hadn't opened yet from the first move. And I didn't make the right choice. And I brought those boxes with us into the house that we've been in now for about 12 or 13 years. And there are still a few of those boxes
with
that still have green stickers on them. I still don't even know what's in them.
You wouldn't even have to open them. You could just take them somewhere.
I have to open them because I have to see what's in them. So that's our goal for this spring. Is my husband and I have said, okay, that's it. We're going through both of the big storage areas and the garage, opening all of those boxes.
2 decades is your limit.
Yeah. Set a low standard, apparently.
I hope anyone listening to this can relate to what we're saying, because I think we all do it.
Yeah, it's easy. You just accumulate things, and you don't really recognize how much you've accumulated till you do start being more mindful about it and taking it one step at a time. Or if you are thrown into a situation where you're moving, that's where we really recognized it. And now, like I said, we've been in this house for 13 years, and just the two of us accumulating things, but also having kids and what they've accumulated and I've kept from them over time. It's incredible how much you accumulate, and we don't plan to move out of this house for a while. So we really need to go through and do another cleansing.
I remember the story of a village, Southeast Asia. I don't remember the people that lived there, but every year their home was flooded, with the rains. And so they only accumulated what they could put in their boat, because every year they had to move out because of the floods. And I thought, wow,
Forced simplicity.
forced simplicity. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's a little too much, but the concept is they only had what they needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It is so true. Because it is just stuff.
it
I always
is
have to
in the
remind
long-
myself of that.
in the long run, it is.
And it's just stuff.
Okay. Another thing is to apply limits to yourself, which, gosh, that's hard. But
Yeah.
whether it's books, clothes, apps, Twitter, whatever, any kind of media, you don't have to be on everything. And let your books go. I'm trying to think, someone that works here was telling me they have a limit of books they'll allow in their house at one
Oh,
time.
wow.
They have like a small bookshelf, and whatever doesn't fit on that bookshelf,
I
they
wish
let
that
go.
was me, but it is not.
And they go through and just keep the ones they absolutely love the most.
Wow.
And I thought that was really a good idea.
That is a great idea.
Yeah. And then you can also, if you're thinking of buying something, you can put it in your cart. And then when you get to the checkout, decide at that point too, is it something you need, something you love, something you will use, and really be, really apply that limit to yourself.
And I don't go shopping a lot in person anymore, quite honestly. I try to support our local vendors as much as I can, but when I do go online shopping, I will drop it in my cart online. And then I'll wait for a couple of days before I actually complete the purchase.
Yeah.
To make sure that that's, or if I buy something in person, I'll take it home and I'll leave it in the bag with the receipt for a few days.
That's a good
Drives
idea.
my husband crazy. But
it's a good
then
idea.
I sometimes get home and I realize, you know what, I really didn't need that, or I really didn't love that as much as I thought I did, or it really doesn't fit as good as I want it to.
It was an impulse buy.
It was an impulse buy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And next, one thing in, two goes out. This is a recommendation kind of like when you've already gone through your decluttering, because the recommendation is when you get started that for everything you bring in that you purchase, 10 things go out. And it's not so hard to do when you think you've got over 300,000 things in your house.
True.
It doesn't have to be, I buy a blouse, I need to get rid of 10 blouses. It's 10 things.
So 10 of anything.
10 of anything.
Okay. Paper clips.
I don't know about that. That might be pushing it. I was telling Nicole though that I have pens. I've collected pens. I went to conferences for decades and everybody gives away a pen, and I've got pens. I would guess I've got, I don't know how many hundreds of pens in my house, and I am going to go through, find every pen and keep my top 20 favorites and get rid of the rest, because that's crazy. They're taking up drawer space.
Yeah.
And so one thing in, two go out. So now if I go out and buy a blouse, I have to come home and two pieces of clothing have to leave.
Well, and that will make you think twice too about purchasing anything new, because I would already be thinking about, okay, if I buy this, what am I going to get rid of?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really a good thing to try.
I'll try it.
Okay. And then ask about whether this thing brings you joy or adds value to your life. If you haven't read or watched Marie Kondo, she's got some really good advice on organizing. And she talks about, holding on to something and thanking it for being a part of your life before you let it go. And, or if you're trying to decide whether or not to get rid of it, if you hold it, and does it spark joy, is her
Which
thing.
I know sounds so silly, but now that I better understand the physiological connection and the thing in the brain that is the thing.
Yeah.
What is triggered in your brain that causes that physical pain? It makes sense.
Right. Although I will say another thing I read was that you should never hold on to the item that you're deciding whether to get rid of, because it will increase your attachment to it. So have a friend or somebody hold up the outfit and say, yes or no. Does it stay or go? Does it stay or go? And if you hold on to it, you're more likely to say, I got to keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let someone else hold the item and say, stay or go. So whether you use Marie Kondo or that, whatever works for you. Yeah. And then another thing, if I had to move to another country tomorrow, If I had to up, I mean, a sad note, thinking about the refugees, in Ukraine, they had to pick up and move at a moment's notice. What would you take with you?
What can you just carry on your back?
What can you carry with
Really?
you? And I saw them with backpacks and their pets in their cages. So what really brings the most meaning to your life that is so strong that you really need to have it with you?
Yeah.
And then finally is, like we were just saying, we need to make space in our lives for things that matter most. And that's not my decor that I've had for 20 years. So I need to go home and start doing more of this. But some of the things to remember is that decluttering really, you want to do the next one?
Sorry about that.
Yep. Really decluttering goes beyond organizing the stuff to really releasing what no longer serves you. And so really think about, after this is over, what needs to be released from my life? What can I really let go of? And then I like this too. What deserves to have a space in your life, whether it's people or the time you spend on certain things, or, we're talking about a lot of different things in this series, but as far as the things in your physical space, what really deserves to
I
be
must
there?
feel like that is probably my number one takeaway so
Yep.
far from today. And if I actually had that written in front of me as I was going through my home and deciding what to keep or not, I feel like that is maybe the question that would make the biggest difference for me.
Yeah. What deserves a space in your life?
Yeah.
And can you even envision what your life would look like or feel like without the clutter or all the totes, or to actually just have more physical space? And, keeping the things that are meaningful and beautiful to you and that you truly love, and letting go of those things that are just, you're keeping on for other purposes, other reasons.
And I think it helps when you kind of get started on this path.
Yes.
And you start doing a little bit of decluttering, start giving a few things away, because I know for me, when we did this a year or two ago, now in hindsight, it's almost more encouraging for me to go through and do it again, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember how much lighter I felt right away. And now I'm starting to feel that little bit of heaviness again of, you know what, I kept that before, but now I'm ready to give it.
Yep.
Now I'm ready to release that. So
very good.
I do feel like that makes a difference.
And can you imagine your home environment as peaceful, restful, restorative, and sacred? Your home truly is your sanctuary. And when you go home, you deserve to have a space that makes you feel welcomed and that you can relax in and not feel that weight of stuff on your shoulders all the time.
One of the webinars we did a while back, and I can't remember which one it was, but we were talking about the studies they were doing more recently when people go visit Airbnbs or VRBOs, how much more at peace and tranquil and rested they feel. And they don't think it's just being like away from home vacation. They actually think it's more because it is a more simple environment. It's not so cluttered. It's more organized and simple. So I found that very interesting. So make your space feel like you would at an Airbnb or a VRBO. Not that you don't want your home to feel like a home. I don't mean that.
Right.
But to
lighten
organize it in such a way that it gives you that same feeling. Does that make sense?
When you walk in, it should feel, you should feel some sense of peace.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
And then how ready are you to start removing some clutter in your life and enjoy that freedom? Because yesterday was the first day of spring.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. No wonder it was so gorgeous outside.
The vernal equinox. Yes. Beautiful. And spring is the perfect time to start looking at, where do I want to begin? What can I really lighten? And again, there are so many places that welcome the things that you're ready to let go of. So what deserves space in your life? And are you ready to start letting go of some of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, spring is a good time to do
Mhm.
that. Like yesterday, it was so gorgeous here.
Yeah.
We're in Iowa,
Yep.
and the sun was shining. It was, in the 60s.
Windows open.
Oh, I had some of my windows
Mhm.
open, and it does just give you that sensation of
Mhm.
wanting to do some of that deep cleaning and
Yeah.
organizing. And
Yeah.
so I'll remember not to just go buy more totes.
Yes.
I'll remember to actually declutter just a little bit. So thank you, Linda,
You're welcome.
again.
Thank you.
So this is the third in our series of Life is Simple, Life Simplified.
Mhm.
And so again, if you missed the first couple of these, you're welcome to go back and watch them on demand. If you'd like to rewatch this one, it will be available on demand soon. You can also share it with your friends and loved ones. Make sure you take advantage of the worksheet that you can download or take notes, pen and paper, if that works for you as well. And thank you so much again for joining us today. Please know too that we have a new website that we did just launch. So when you go to our location, I'm so excited. You will actually see on the home page, you can scroll down and find all of these videos. So they're a little easier to access now. You can watch them on demand anytime, anywhere. You don't have to worry about purchasing them. They're free. And then if you're looking for the worksheets, they are under more resources, and then you can download the PDF from there. If you have any questions or anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. Linda Peterson is available. Her email address is there on the website or on the screen, lpeterson@stateraintegrated.com. She's more than happy to answer any questions that you have regarding this Life Simplified series, or if you're interested in life coaching, health and wellness coaching, please reach out to her or schedule an appointment. She also does free 15-minute to 30-minute consultations. So if you'd like to just learn a little bit more about what does that mean to make an appointment for life purpose coaching or health and wellness coaching, she can actually walk you through that process a little bit so you can know if it's right for you. If you're wanting to learn a little bit more about Statera, who we are, what we do, what we believe in, you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation with myself. You can do that through our website or through calling us. Our number is 563-207-8932. And again, any closing thoughts?
Spring has sprung. Let's get out there and simplify our lives.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your week.